Have you ever felt like you're constantly chasing after things in life? Always running, always striving, always reaching for that next goal, that next achievement, that next relationship? It's exhausting, isn't it? And the worst part is, no matter how fast you run or how hard you try, it often feels like what you're chasing is always just out of reach. But what if I told you there was another way? A way to live that doesn't involve this constant, draining pursuit. A way that allows you to find peace, contentment, and even success without all the struggle. Today, we're going to explore an ancient philosophy that offers exactly that. We're going to delve into the wisdom of Stoicism and discover how it can transform our approach to life from one of constant chasing to one of calm attraction. Before we dive in, I want you to think about this phrase, "Still waters run deep." This simple saying captures the essence of what we'll be discussing today. If you feel it resonates with you by the end of this video, I want you to leave it in the comments below. It'll be our little signal to each other that we've understood this powerful shift in perspective. Now, let's begin our journey into Stoicism and learn how to stop chasing and start attracting what truly belongs to us. Lesson 1. Acceptance of what is. The first principle we need to understand is the Stoic concept of acceptance. This doesn't mean passive resignation, but rather a clear-eyed acknowledgement of reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well." Think about how much energy we waste fighting against reality, railing against circumstances we can't change. When we chase after things, we're often chasing after an idealized version of reality that doesn't exist. We're trying to force the world to conform to our desires instead of accepting it as it is. But when we accept what is, we free up enormous amounts of mental and emotional energy. We stop exhausting ourselves in futile pursuits and start seeing clearly what's actually possible and beneficial for us. This doesn't mean we become complacent or stop striving for improvement. Instead, it means we work with reality rather than against it. We plant our feet firmly on the ground of what is, and from there, we can see more clearly where to go next. Lesson 2. Focus on what you can control. The second principle follows naturally from the first. Once we accept reality as it is, we can then focus our energy on what we actually have power over. Another famous Stoic, Epictetus, put it this way: "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will." So much of our chasing behavior comes from trying to control things that are fundamentally outside our control. We chase after other people's approval, try to manipulate circumstances to our liking, or obsess over outcomes that are ultimately not up to us. But the Stoics teach us to focus instead on what is within our control, our thoughts, our actions, our responses to events. When we do this, we stop chasing and start cultivating. We work on becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts what we desire, rather than frantically pursuing it. This shift in focus is incredibly liberating. Instead of feeling at the mercy of external events, we realize that we always have power over our own choices and reactions. And it's these choices and reactions that ultimately shape our lives. Lesson 3. Cultivate virtue. Now that we're focusing on what we can control, the next principle tells us what exactly we should be focusing on: virtue. For the Stoics, Virtue wasn't just about being a good person in a vague sense. It was about excellence of character, about becoming the best version of yourself. The four cardinal virtues in Stoicism are wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." When we chase after external things, wealth, status, pleasure, we're often trying to fill a void within ourselves. But the Stoics teach us that true fulfillment comes from developing our character, from living according to our highest values. When we focus on cultivating virtue, we become the kind of person who naturally attracts good things. We don't need to chase after respect. We earn it through our integrity. We don't need to pursue meaningful relationships. We attract them through our wisdom and compassion. This principle shifts our energy from external pursuit to internal development. And paradoxically, by focusing less on getting what we want and more on becoming who we want to be, we often end up attracting the very things we used to chase. Lesson 4. Practice gratitude. The fourth principle might seem simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Cultivate gratitude for what you already have. Epictetus said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." When we're constantly chasing after things, we're implicitly telling ourselves that what we have isn't enough, that we'll only be happy when we get that next thing. But this creates a cycle of perpetual dissatisfaction, because there's always a next thing to chase. Practicing gratitude breaks this cycle. It shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have. And when we truly appreciate what we have, we often realize that we already possess much of what we've been chasing. This doesn't mean we become complacent or stop striving for improvement, but it does mean that our striving comes from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. We're not desperately chasing after things to fill a void. We're calmly attracting more good things into a life that's already rich and fulfilling. Lesson 5. Embrace impermanence. The fifth principle is about understanding and accepting the impermanent nature of all things. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, wrote, "All things human are short-lived and perishable." When we chase after things, we're often driven by a desire for permanence. We want to capture and hold onto good feelings, relationships, achievements. But the reality is that everything in life is temporary and subject to change. Embracing this impermanence can be liberating. Instead of frantically trying to hold on to things, we learn to appreciate them fully while they're here. We stop chasing after a permanent state of happiness and learn to find joy in the present moment, knowing it's fleeting. This principle also helps us let go of things more easily when it's time for them to end. Instead of chasing after what's already gone, we open ourselves to what's coming next. We trust in the natural flow of life, knowing that what belongs to us will find us in its own time. Lesson 6. Practice detachment. Building on the previous principle, the sixth lesson is about cultivating a sense of detachment. Epictetus advised, "Never say of anything, 'I have lost,' but 'I have returned it.'" This doesn't mean becoming cold or unfeeling. Rather, it's about holding things lightly, enjoying them fully while we have them, but being ready to let them go when the time comes. When we chase after things, we often do so out of a sense of attachment or need. We feel that we must have this thing, this person, this achievement, or else we won't be happy or complete. But this attachment creates suffering because we're always afraid of losing what we have or not getting what we want. Practicing detachment frees us from this suffering. We learn to enjoy things without clinging to them. We appreciate what comes into our lives without desperately trying to hold on to it. And, paradoxically, this detachment often allows us to enjoy things more fully because we're not constantly worried about losing them. Lesson 7. Trust in the universe. The final principle brings all the others together. Develop a trust in the natural order of things. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything that happens as it should, and if you observe carefully, you will find this to be so." This doesn't mean believing that everything happens for a reason in a simplistic sense. Rather, it's about developing a deep trust in the interconnectedness of all things and the natural flow of life. When we're constantly chasing after things, we're operating from a place of mistrust. We don't believe that good things will come to us naturally, so we feel we have to pursue them aggressively. But this chasing often creates resistance and pushes away the very things we're trying to attract. Trusting in the universe means believing that what is meant for us will find its way to us. It means doing our part, cultivating virtue, focusing on what we can control, practicing gratitude and detachment, and then allowing things to unfold as they will. This trust allows us to relax into life rather than constantly striving against it. We stop trying to force things to happen and instead allow ourselves to be carried by the current of life, trusting that it will take us where we need to go. As we come to the end of our exploration of these Stoic principles, I want you to think back to that phrase I mentioned at the beginning, "Still waters run deep." This simple saying encapsulates so much of what we've discussed. When we stop chasing, when we cultivate inner peace and virtue, when we trust in the natural flow of life, we become like those still waters. We have a quiet power, a deep attractiveness that naturally draws to us what belongs in our lives. Remember, this isn't about becoming passive or giving up on your goals. It's about changing how you pursue those goals. It's about shifting from a mindset of desperate chasing to one of calm attraction. So I encourage you to reflect on these principles. How can you apply them in your own life? How can you stop chasing and start attracting? And if this message resonates with you, if you feel inspired to embrace this Stoic approach to life, leave a comment below with the phrase "Still waters run deep." Let's create a community of people committed to finding peace and fulfillment, not through constant pursuit, but through inner cultivation and trust in the natural order of things. Thank you for joining me on this journey into Stoic wisdom. Until next time, remember, don't chase, attract. What belongs to you will simply find you.